Hey, I'm out on the terrace, enjoying some of the sun. I'm going out for a gym later. Uh, so, this is a more thought out retrospective of the Hilversum Hurricanes 2019 season. For me. Now, this doesn't just start with like the games because, yeah. So, this goes all the way back to when pretty much joined the team and said, yes, this is mine, all the way back to the video where I chose what team I was going to pick. But the last video I did on this one was Monday. That video went up Monday evening, and I got some wonderful private response messages to that. A few of them were, well, I say about half of them were, sort of thing. I don't know the words necessarily, but it was just sort of like, same. I guess is how the internet would put it these days. And so, the initial shock kind of had hit because the game had happened and then it was done and over with and everybody was still around, and despite me being as I guess I wasn't necessarily being dishonest. If I was wrecked, I would have been wrecked, but it did take a little bit. It's sort of like post-game interviews where some people are, like, you get them all hyped up and they're still like on a lot of adrenaline. I could probably talk to some of my teammates and get there. Like if we had a little like group thing here going on with the video camera, they could all be a little bit better. But some of them were like dead silent after the game. Others were like, yeah, like some of us I could immediately hit, and others it hadn't. And then we got a ride back from Rojier all the way to the house, and we walked straight there. I had 2 pints. I had a quart of beer. And some nachos, and I went home and passed out. And I woke up early in the morning, got Aaron off to the train, did my video, did a little bit of editing, and then I just... It's sort of like I had kept going. So that's what that was. And it was necessary, and it's very honest, sticks to that little thing of mine. Anyway, let's go back to the thing at hand. So back in September, I'd pretty much confirmed that I was going to be joining the Hilversum Hurricanes. And then throughout September, there was practice, and I was sticking with the rookies because in semi-pro we hadn't really done a lot of hitting practices, so I figured if Maurice is going to be there teaching rookies on how to hit against pads and stuff, I should probably join that. Despite the fact that, I understood defense mentality, and I really understood even what routes were. I could read a corner, I could read a receiver. I could, even kind of read a running back. But, like, hitting was not something they taught at semi-pro. So, that's a benefit. I'm not necessarily sure if the other teams would have necessarily done that. I'm not sure if they would have necessarily... Like, the crew might have had that kind of stuff, but... That's, I could do suppositions all day long, but, there was a sled with a couple things on it, and throughout the whole practice season, for special teams, sometimes we wouldn't do special teams. We'd split up into 3 groups to learn tackling form and stuff, and we got to work on that still. There are some things that don't come very naturally, and a lot of people, when they get into like their adult years, kind of avoid trying to get in impacts, whereas you can kind of train children to push past it. after a fashion. Teach the kids to tackle and then teach them about football, rather than teach them about football and then teach them to tackle. Things are going a little backwards with how I've done stuff, but as long as all the knowledge gets there eventually, I might. So, then we had the first game up at Groningen, how some of the guys in Hilversum say it. I forget how Jan says it. He's Czech. I think maybe he's done a little bit better to learn Dutch. Kind of like me, he just learns to speak it, but not talk in it. Talk, I guess. Anyways, and that was the first little bit where I had with socializing with the team, wearing number 44. Yeah, that was fun. And then we went out to the bars, and I chickened out early in comparison to the second time. I still kind of chickened out the second time, but Don was already rolling around, so. Anyways, so yeah, after that we had the game at home versus Leiden, which I was a part of. It put me in a lot. I still had not had a painted helmet yet, so I was the weirdo with the black helmet. And so I at least took the numbers off the side so that they didn't 59 on the helmet, 44 on the jersey. What the? Yeah. So, and then we went to Paris. After that, we had pretty much 2 successive games. We drove down there, had about 2 or 3 hours, played a game in poorly lit, foggy field conditions, and then went back to the hotel that night, got a little bit of sleep, ate some breakfast, went back out to the field, went to go play the Bucharest team, and then that night we had our little drunken party. So, and what sucked is the Bucharest team came in that day, played us, and then we're going to play the French team the next day. And it was the French team that wound up getting a day in between. So, the French wound up winning that tournament. But it was a thing in and of itself. And then a couple months of practices, and we had Leiden again, but at Leiden. And that's where I was being put in at more inside linebacker stuff, Will and Mike, because Kevin went down and they needed to put that in. Other Kevin, linebacker Kevin, not wide receiver Kevin. And so, yeah, that. And then after that, we went on break. But that one felt different than this because I knew that was a winter break. This is a longer break. So then we came back, we did some practices in the freezing cold. And then we had camp down in Belgium, which was technically my first time I'd been to Belgium. I mean, when you go through a state and you stop at one rest stop, when you're going through a state, have you been to the state? I don't know about that. But going to Belgium, walking around, seeing the towns, shopping at a supermarket, staying at a dude ranch. That was definitely an experience. I had a meltdown during that, and I'm not sure why. That's where I think I overly stressed the collarbone somehow, and then I never therapied it right. Because I was too busy trying to prove something. Despite the fact that I absolutely did not need to, according to many people. But you can tell me that all you want, I'm still going to do it. And then a bunch of practices, and then the season started. And we played a game at Utrecht, and there's a whole playlist up there that basically describes these in videos. I'm just giving a small synopsis and flying through time. We had the game at Utrecht. beat the brakes off them. Then we went out to Flavo. It was our first time to Flavo. Or Almira. And, because technically anyways, we came back the first time with Groningen and stopped in Almira Centrum to grab a sprinter to get back to Matterport rather than continue on the IC all the way back to Central. Yeah, that wasn't, yeah, no. So, that was that. So we got there, we got to see the wonderful town. The score was a little bit tighter for that team, but we were having trouble with the run. And the rain was messing up the receivers. Like, there was an issue with the receivers, and they blamed it on the rain. And then there really wasn't any rain at the home game against Arnhem, and yeah, there's a bee checking out my camera. There he is. Anyways, so, and after the Flavo game, I didn't get much playtime, and again, I felt bad that I wasn't proving myself, that I wasn't sufficient for the team, so I'd better go harder. Better, faster, stronger, harder, all that jazz. Haha. And just one tackle, whether it was a bad tackle or a good tackle, I broke the collarbone. And that was it for me for the season. I missed the Arnhem game at home because, well, that was the very next weekend and I still hadn't had my surgery yet. And then that Tuesday, I got my surgery. Then there was a Thursday practice I missed. So, broke it on Sunday, missed that Thursday practice, drove myself insane, missed that game, missed that Sunday game, went absolutely knucking futs again. Found out Kevin broke his collarbone during that game. And then I had my surgery. Then missed that next practice. I made it back for the crew game. And so, and everyone's just like, and I didn't realize this because to me it's such a basic thing. Everyone was happy that I'd come back. And I'd forgotten, and I didn't realize that how many people up and leave or go missing during an injury, and I'm sitting here being driven insane, the fact that I can't, I'm letting a simple broken bone hold me back, and, being high on pain pills hold me back from locomotion around the city. Even going to practice, I would have been frustrated that I wasn't participating. So the rest of the season goes, everything gets better. I get the okay to go back to cardio. So to wrap this all up, this year has been tough, even though I had an excuse for not being on the field. My brain says it's just that weird dark side of me that it just says, well, it's one thing, it's always something. There it is. It's always something, and it will rationalize any reason I'm not on the field is bad. So, the planes are circling. I think they're just taking a bend. Anyways, got distracted by planes. They're leaving contrails behind, so I can see these arcs. So, yeah, there's a Delenn quote. It's from Babylon 5. The universe knows what it's doing. It puts us in places where we can learn. They're never easy, but they are the right place. And I find myself repeating that in comfort. Because if I'd have, say, gone to the crew, I probably would have been on crew 2 and would have forfeited a number of games and maybe not had as impactful of a practice. Who knows, maybe I would have been, top of my game, but I don't know. I'm suppositioning on a past, on a future, on an alternate timeline. I can't really change what it is, but even back when I chose this team, it was like, something felt like this was the place for me. You can tell I can't even focus on the screen. I can't even look myself in the eye. That's when I get nervous about stuff I'm saying, the non-eye contact autism comes out, and I get distracted by looking around. I'm not displeased with my choice. In fact, I'm eager on my choice. I'm very happy with my choice. What my displeasure was on Monday was, well, it was like the Cobras versus Raiders game. I was in 3 plays. I was in 3 plays because there was 1 kickoff, and then I was in on 2 kick returns. We got the brakes beat off of us in that game, and I got nothing to say about it. Happened a lot with Cobras. Happened a couple times on the Pitbulls. Got the brakes beat off of us, and people were like, "You didn't want to be a part of that game." And I was like, "That's bold of you to assume." There are people that play this sport that are okay sitting on sidelines and taking what they get. It's not me. I drive myself crazy because I think I deserve more. I think I'm better. And what drives my anxiety is that the reality doesn't manifest that. And my logic says, well, then there's missing information. It's sort of like the grand unifying theory. We've got everything closed, but gravity's just can't reconcile it. There's something missing with gravity, and we can't get the grand unifying theory. So yeah, that's pretty much with that. I'll figure out tomorrow if this editing makes any sense. I'll see you guys over the weekend. We're going to have a hot couple days coming up, so expect a lot of outdoors activity, and possibly red. I'm thinking Monday and Tuesday we'll be putting SPF on just because, like, even for the Netherlands, the UV index will be like 8 of 10. Just like, you might want to have an umbrella with some SPF 50 on, just in case any sunlight gets through your umbrella. Catch you guys later.